Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into another edition of Jack Talks Jets. And I don't know why my camera is like that right now. Hopefully that'll get fixed up very, very shortly, and we'll see if that continues. That we will go on a quick break and fix that really quickly. But hopefully that will resolve itself pretty, very, very shortly. Here we go. JETS Jets University Underdogs. Welcome into the live stream. Make sure to stick around for the entire show. We will be breaking down all of training camp here today, and we are going to go on a very quick break before we get underway. I'm just going to fix it. I'll fix my camera really quickly. It should only take around a minute. We'll be right back after the quick break. Let me put on a quick little timer here so you guys know when I will be back. I apologize. It'll only take probably a minute, maybe 2 minutes max. Did not expect that. Jets channel. Jets haven't even started playing yet, and they're still affecting the way I live stream here, ladies and gentlemen. That's what being a Jets fan does to you. So we will go on a quick around a minute and a half break, or a minute 10-second break. I'll put the timer a minute and 10 seconds. We will go off right there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in about a minute. All right, looks like we fixed the current situation, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here on the show. Again, I apologize for that abrupt interruption. But anyway, welcome back to another edition of Jack Talks Jets. If you guys want to get in on the conversation and talk about New York Jets training camp or anything New York Jets, you can call into the show, 203-491-0164. We will open up the phone lines at around 8:15, 8:20-ish. We're just going to get into a couple of topics first before we dive into more topics and hear your thoughts on the matter. Again, you can call the phone number at around 8:20-ish. 203-491-0164. Stick around because the phone lines will open in around 15 minutes. Today's topics we will discuss from today's training camp. D'Angelo Ponz's injury. Defense dominates most of the practice today. We're going to get a lot of focus on that today as well. A lot of the QB reports we will be discussing. Some of the press conferences that went down today. We will be reacting to what they had to say today, what each of the press conferences or the main press conferences had to say today. Biggest winners and losers today of training camp, and live callers throughout the night. This will be a very fun show with you guys, so make sure to stick around. And after day one, are you guys encouraged, concerned, or somewhere in the middle for this New York Jets team so far this season, just based off day one? I get it. It's day one of training camp. Not going to paint the whole picture right away, but so far what we have seen from today, are you guys intrigued or concerned or somewhere in the middle about this upcoming 2026 New York Jets team? Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move on. We are going to move on into the very first segment of the show, and that is D'Angelo Ponz's injury. And apparently D'Angelo Ponz today pulled or had a calf strain today at practice. Aaron Glenn said it's really nothing to worry about. If it is, though, is there a risk of someone potentially taking his starting job? I believe so. And even if Ponz didn't get injured, I really think there was a competition at that nickelback spot, specifically with him and Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who showed a lot of potential with the New York Jets defense last season when the Jets acquired him in around midseason last year. So Jarvis Brownlee Jr. would be the top guy to potentially take D'Angelo Ponz's starting job if Ponz was projected to start this season at the nickelback position. Missing camp reps, honestly, it matters more than the injury itself. Like I said, it has to tie in a lot with that taking of the job kind of situation. Will Ponz be able to rejuvenate or to recover fast and get back on pace to what he was before he got injured today and during rookie mini camp? I don't know. We'll see. Again, if Aaron Glenn says this is really nothing to worry about, I wouldn't be too worried about it. He'll probably be back somewhere soon. Let's just hope. That's the hope, guys. But there's a ton of debate right with Brownlee Jr. and Pons. For one, I think D'Angelo Pons is one of the best corners in this entire draft class. Another, as well as being one of the best corners in the slot in this entire draft class, or if not the best slot corner in this entire class. You can make the argument for playing in the slot at Indiana was one of his best one of his best traits about him, and I really hope he translates that with the New York Jets this season. But let's move on to what most people were talking about today, and that is the defense dominating practice today. What's up, Chris? How are you doing? Welcome into the show. But anyway, defense dominating practice was a big factor in the New York Jets' success today in training camp. David Bailey had a few pressures on the Geno Smith and the quarterbacks today, which is a great sign. The pass rush, like I said, was doing very well. The secondary was actually doing pretty well as well today. A very good competition with the wide receivers doing 11 on 11s today. Geno Smith even struggled quite a bit there. I think the defense is, I wouldn't say it's going to go back to what it was a few years ago, but I think it is steadily improving, and I believe it will continue to steadily improve as the season progresses, ladies and gentlemen. But David Bailey, a lot of people, David Bailey's even in the thumbnail of this video. Bailey is the focal point of the Jets defense this season. And what I mean by focal point, I don't mean the best. I don't mean the most gifted. I mean the guy who has all of his eyes set on him. David Bailey has all eyes on him. When anybody thinks about the Jets defense this upcoming season, they will be thinking of David Bailey. And how did Bailey do today? Like I said, he did fairly well today, rushing Geno Smith. I believe he actually deflected a pass. I believe he also got a sack, in why I quote it, because, again, obviously they're not allowed to touch the quarterback. But in the sense that if this was a real game, I believe that would have been a sack if he got to the quarterback. So I'm going to count that. David Bailey had a couple sacks today for the Jets. Checking on, he was all over Twitter today. You can see Will McDonald, as well, saying on the defensive line, got noticeably bigger. You can take a look at his physique from a few years ago, especially his rookie season. He looks so much smaller compared to what he was today when he showed up for training camp. I mean, everybody just looked to be in incredible shape. David Bailey, as well, saying on topic of that, looked great during individuals today, especially during those drills for the New York Jets. Like I said as well, the secondary played pretty well today as well. And, Kingsley Enagbare actually on his press conference today, we'll get to more of the press conferences in a few minutes, but the Kingsley Enagbare, newly acquired defensive end from the Jets this past offseason, he had some comments on David Bailey, and I quote from Kingsley Enagbare, "He's going to be phenomenal. He can do it all." That's what he said about David Bailey, and I really hope he's right. The only thing I'm concerned about still with David Bailey, I've expressed this numerous times here on the channel, excuse me. The one thing I am concerned about with David Bailey is his ability to stop the run, because that has been a huge issue for him in the past. Hopefully he can be coached up like TJ Watt, or by Carl Dunbar, and credit Carl Dunbar like TJ Watt credited him, because Watt credited Carl Dunbar as being the reason why he is so dominant today. So let's just hope that Dunbar is as good of a coach that Watt says he was to him and many other defensive linemen with the Steelers organization, to David Bailey, Will McDonald, Harrison Smith, Jawan Briggs, etc. Darrell Jackson Jr., the rookie defensive tackle, even. So you have all this stuff on David Bailey. A lot of people,
Jets player ever from.
You have that. I'm listening to currently right now. When I'm looking at David Bailey right now, you see I'm looking at Badlands podcast right now here on Twitter. And apparently, there was a few people there that are involved in that podcast. They said David Bailey looked good. I thought he was the most impactful in the three edges I saw today, and that's what Will said from Badlands about the Jets' number 2 overall pick today, which is absolutely amazing. Armand Membu even looked pretty good today against David Bailey. Contradicting Bailey's success today, you got to give credit to Membu, who was the guy that was blocking Bailey today. He looked pretty good today as well. Speaking of the other tackles, you have Olu Fashanu, absolutely jacked today. If any of you saw pictures of Olu Fashanu today entering practice, he looked noticeably bigger, and that is a great sign, I believe. Going back to the defense, though, I do have a couple questions for the chat. Do you guys think the defense is elite, excuse me, or is the offense simply behind? Because it could be a tale of two, could be a tale of those two stories. It could be a two stories there. The defense either could be elite or the offense it could be simply behind. I think it could very well be both. You're Frank Reich, who I've said many times by now, I don't believe should be the offensive coordinator of this team. And if he's not going to modernize this NFL offense, I believe the offense will be behind if that's the case. Hopefully with the draft of Sadiq, I hope that was what a lot of Jet fans and analysts are guessing, that Frank Reich finally realized that he has to modernize this NFL offense, hence why he was so involved in drafting Kenyon Sadiq at pick 16 this year. So let's just hope that the offense is not behind, and let's just hope the defense is elite. You want both the sides of your ball to be elite, so let's just hope that it's not the offense being behind. It's something that you can't have, especially with the talent this Jets offense has. You simply cannot be a behind offense with the talent this Jets offense has. You just can't do it. University Underdog says defense could do damage, but by midseason, the offense would just fall off. I'm not sure Geno was the best decision. I can understand where you're coming from. I totally get it. I think my first choice at quarterback this year was Malik Willis. I believe I've said that in the quarterback videos that I wanted for the season back in like February, I believe that was. I said Malik Willis was my number one option. Again, that was still while we had Tanner Engstrand, I believe. So there are factors into believing why Geno Smith is not the option, but I think that with the hiring of Frank Reich, Smith is really what Reich wants. And again, I'm not all for Reich, like I just said, but if you were to get a quarterback that Frank Reich really likes and a quarterback that fits Frank Reich's scheme the most, it is Geno Smith. So I think Smith was probably the second best option the Jets could have gotten, but I totally see where you're coming from. And you could see, right? You could see I could see your vision there, or excuse me, I could see your vision there. It could be similar. It could be very similar to the 2023 NFL season, where the Jets defense was arguably a top 3, if not the best defense in the entire NFL. By midseason, even before that, the Jets offense was one of the worst in the NFL without Aaron Rodgers, with a bottom 3 offensive line in the NFL, a mediocre receiver core, a mediocre tight end room. It was just, the offense was just, like I said, like I asked you guys here, and like you said here, University Underdogs, the offense it just fell off. It fell off, I believe, simply from the beginning, from the Cowboys game even. The Bills game, they even struggled a little bit. The fans cheered for a first down in the second quarter when Zach Wilson passed it to Allen Lazard. That's how much the offense sucked that year in 2023 for the Jets. But you got to hope that you really have to hope that it's just the defense being elite and it's not the offense falling behind, because the New York Jets cannot afford to have an offense that falls behind with this amount of talent on it. If you're telling me that the New York Jets on paper should be a top 15 offense this season, I would believe you. I've even said that in previous live streams and previous videos. However, staying on the topic of the Jets being a top 15 offense on paper, if they cannot produce at least, like I said, a top 15 offense, then I really have no hope for this offense for the future. Honestly, I don't. You have Geno Smith. If we can get Seattle Seahawks Geno Smith, that would be amazing. However, you have the chance of getting 2025 Las Vegas Raiders Geno Smith. You have the chance of getting Breece Hall, who could go back to having not great vision. Again, that doesn't really make sense, but it always could happen. You could have no chemistry between Smith and those receivers, like we saw with Justin Fields and his receiver core. Absolutely no chemistry there. You could have miscommunication, bad play calling, Frank Reich not modernizing the offense. Just so many things that can tie into the Jets not being a great offense this year. However, with the skill that they have on that offense, there's no reason why they should not be top 15. That I will stand by that as long as this offense stays intact, I guess you could say. So, quarterback report, you have Geno Smith. His best throws today, I believe he went 3 for 5 in 11 on 11, something like that. Actually, I believe he did okay. He did okay in 11 on 11s. He wasn't the best. David Bailey, like I said, made a few plays against Geno Smith today. he did okay. So did Cade Klubnik. Geno Smith went for okay. Yeah, he did during 11 on 11s. Geno Smith went 3 for 5. With an Isaiah Williams drop, which is not that great. Again, Isaiah Williams is primarily special teams, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And especially because you have Tim Patrick, Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., and Adonai Mitchell in front of him, and potentially Arian Smith as well in front of him on the offensive depth chart. In 11 on 11s, and so he went 3 for 5 on 11 on 11s and 4 for 5 on 7 on 7s. So again, not the best, but again, not the worst. So I would say he did okay today. Now for backup quarterback, rookie quarterback Cade Klubnik, he went 2 for 4 in 11 on 11s with an interception and 3 for 4 in 7 on 7s today. So around the same as Geno Smith, probably a little worse. But again, it's to be expected. He's a 4th round pick who had a terrible season. I wouldn't say terrible, but not a great season in Clemson last year. We've seen potential. We've seen Klubnik's potential, but it's not. I was never expecting Klubnik to be this great potentially franchise starting quarterback for the Jets. I never saw that in him, so it's not really surprising to see these numbers from him today. And I will correct myself. Smith went 3 for 6 in 11 on 11s today. His best throw, according to Rich Cimini, was a play action throw to A.D. Mitchell. A lot of zip, well timed on an in cut. His worst throw came in 7 on 7s and underthrown deep ball to A.D. Mitchell again, which was broken up by Brandon Stephens. And for rookie quarterback Cade Klubnik, his last throw was picked off by linebacker Mykal Walker. The pass was tipped by wide receiver Malik McLean. And Klubnik will have and according to Cimini, Klubnik will get a chance to win the number 2 job, which I believe he ultimately will end up winning. I believe Cade Klubnik will ultimately end up winning that QB2 job for the New York Jets. So again, the phone lines will open up in just around a minute here. So if you guys want to get in on the conversation, you can call in. You just have to give your name, and I will bring you on air when the time is right. Again, phone lines open up in around a minute. So again, when you call in, it'll say leave your name, just leave your name, and I'll get a notification that you are calling in, and I will bring you on. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are interested in calling in, just call the number 203-491-0164, and the phone lines are officially open. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be accepting your phone calls if you guys decide to call in. So call in, again, 203-491-0164. We're going to be on here for a little bit longer. I hope you guys all are enjoying the show so far. I apologize for the little hiccup that we had at the beginning of the show with the camera being all blurry, but that is okay. Let's move on to the next segment of the show before we get to your calls here. It actually looks like we have our first caller here. Looks like he's coming from Connecticut. Let's see who this is.
Call from
Win.
Okay, looks like we have Win on the line.
1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Win, you are officially on the air of Jack Talks Jets. How are you doing, Win?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Good first day of training camp for the Jets. Is some stuff I would like to focus on, and it's mainly at the quarterback spot. So,
yep.
I don't think Geno Smith is going to last the full season without an injury. I feel like that's a common thought. But that's when you got to think, is Klubnik going to be the answer? Is he going to be able to lead us maybe even into the future? Because next year's draft class, I don't think Arch Manning's our guy. I don't think Dante Moore is our guy. I feel like Cade Klubnik may have been the biggest steal at the quarterback spot in this entire draft with how late we drafted him.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. The only thing I disagree with is that I don't believe Cade Klubnik is the future of this organization. You've seen the struggles that he had last year in Clemson. So many things that cannot be really be fixed in the pros. His ball placement is fairly hard to. I wouldn't say really hard, but it is fairly hard to coach up at the pro level, especially if you're not getting reps with the ones. If you're getting reps with the twos, it's very hard to fix that ball placement, that accuracy that Klubnik struggled with last season, especially that vision. Klubnik struggled with a ton of vision last year, and just overall, I think awareness Klubnik struggled with last season. It's very hard to fix that in the pros, and that's one of the reasons why I don't think Klubnik will be our long-term guy. And when you say Arch Manning and Dante Moore aren't fit for the Jets offense either, I just have to disagree with you on that as well. I think Manning is a perfect fit for a guy like Frank Reich who wants to run those intermediate route, passing or intermediate route offenses with those two tight end personnels. I just have to agree with you there. I think that's one of the best fits that Arch Manning can honestly go into. Same with Dante Moore, one of the best pocket passers in college football. The only thing I don't like about Dante Moore is that he is only 206 pounds. I think with Reich's offense, you have to be a big-bodied quarterback. So I do agree with you there that there are some faults with Dante Moore. I do think he has to gain some weight, but I do think that, offensive scheme-wise, those guys are one of the best fits for the Jets offense. But let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on a guy like Jaden Mayava? Because he's like one of my favorite guys in this whole draft class. I think he'd be one of the best fits for the Jets in 2027. So what are your thoughts on him?
Correct me if I'm wrong. He's the Arizona QB, right?
USC QB.
USC. That makes it up with a different guy. USC, obviously, great Big Ten. USC has I would say, a decent schedule this year. So by around midseason, we'll see how he pans out with the rest of the quarterbacks in the country. Obviously, USC has a pretty difficult schedule this year. So you never know what you're going to see out of a guy like Jaden Mayava. And all the good QBs in the Big Ten, but we'll see how he pans out going late into that Big Ten season.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's so many quarterbacks in next year's draft class. It's a big pool. So, even if the Jets offense, like I said, is top 15 on paper or top 15 actually this season, and the Jets, let's say, win 7-8 games this year, and they're picking at pick 11, they're still going to have a lot of room for a quarterback there. So that's why I think Mayava would be a good choice. But again, another guy that I'm really high on is Lenore Sellers. I think Lenore Sellers is one of my favorite guys in this class. Sure, he may not have had the best season last year, but I think he's that big-bodied Cam Newton-like quarterback that the Jets can go after. What are your thoughts on Lenore Sellers?
I had Lenore Sellers winning the Heisman last year. I'm going to be completely honest. I thought that South Carolina team last year would have been a high candidate to do kind of what like Indiana did. But just the letdown that season, I lost hope in Lenore Sellers. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be a great quarterback. I'm sure he's going to make the league. But I feel like last season's performance just didn't cut it, and it kind of lost stock on him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole reason why I don't think he declared for the draft, because I believe if Sellers played like how he did his freshman year, he would have been the undisputed number one overall pick this year. I don't think, no doubt about it. But you got to think of that butterfly effect too, man. Like if Sellers played good this year, who knows? The Jets could have had their hands on Fernando Mendoza this year. So there's just so many what ifs right now. But Win, thank you so much for calling in, man. You should come back soon. Maybe we'll have you on the show someday.
Appreciate it, man. Go Jets.
Go Jets. Ladies and gentlemen, Win from Connecticut. Thank you so much for calling in. Again, phone lines are still open again at 203-491-0164. You can call in there. We are going to be looking at some of if you guys have not taken a look at some of the New York Jets training camp clips. There are some on SNY you can see there. Not sure why it's not playing, but we will get back to that in a second. But Geno Smith, again, I think that Win brings up a good point. I think that is Smith. What's the wording I'm looking for here? If Smith does not have a great season, which is something that can very well happen, and the Jets are picking, let's say, top 5. I think that if the Jets choose Dante Moore, it's a great pick. However, I do believe that Moore does have to gain some weight. Because again, if let's say Frank Reich is the projected offensive coordinator next season, although I do think he will most likely be one and done. If there is a universe where Reich is the offensive coordinator next season for the Jets, Moore cannot thrive in that offense if he is not heavier, per se. If they still had Engstrand, I think he would be just fine at 206 pounds. Perfect. Tanner Engstrand works well with those types of guys. But at 206 pounds, in an offense that has had Carson Wentz, in an offense that has had Matt Ryan, in an offense that is now having Geno Smith, it's not cutting it. And Frank Reich has even coached guys like Nick Foles and Phillip Rivers as well, who was known to be on the bigger side of quarterbacks. I'm not sure. Like, you need to Dante Moore, from a play style wise, hands down, I think the best quarterback in the class, hands down. him, Lenore Sellers, or Arch Manning are hands down the best 3 quarterbacks in the 27 draft class, purely from play style and how they can thrive with the Jets offense. Those are the 3 undisputed best quarterbacks in next year's class, just based on those traits alone. However, if you're going to head into Frank Reich's scheme at 206 pounds, that is not a good look. You're going to get, I don't believe it'll be very, I wouldn't say very difficult, but it'll be somewhat difficult to thrive in that offense. So if you could just bump up to even just 215 pounds, 220 is probably ideal for him. I'm going to say like 215, 220. If more can get up there for 2027, I think he could thrive. I still think he could do good at 206 pounds. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's going to, crap the bed. I still think he can do good at 206 pounds with that offense, but he won't thrive and be that franchise guy I think the Jets can have if he does not gain some sort of weight. That's just all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I'm just saying I think he has to gain some weight if he wants to thrive in Frank Reich's offense. Again, we don't even know if Frank Reich is going to be the offensive coordinator in 2027. My belief is that he will be one and done after this season, just like Tanner Engstrand. But again, who knows? So there were some press conferences today by Aaron Glenn, Geno Smith, and Garrett Wilson. Those are the ones we were going to go over. Aaron Glenn was just talking about how, he wants to be more of a serious team this year. There's no slogans and no hype this year in training camp. Like, he doesn't want all these like hype stuff and no slogans this year. I'm pretty sure he said that as well. So he's dead set on making this team as serious as possible and getting all those mistakes fixed for week 1, which is that is highly incredible of him. Garrett Wilson, he's just happy to be back on the field from that devastating knee injury he had last season. Geno Smith as well, clearing up some of the legal issues he had around a month back, and that he apologized for stopping the positive momentum of this team, but he says that he is excited to work and get better with his team throughout training camp. I think Smith is a great leader for this team, and I'm happy that, honestly, the Jets traded for him. I was a little skeptical with it at first, but over time, I was able to accept the fact that it's not such a bad trade after all. I really think Smith can do some good things with the Jets, especially if he returns to his Seattle Seahawks form. I believe that he can do some good things for the New York Jets. So some winners and losers, I believe, of today's training camp. I believe that you can make the argument that the defense, I guess you could say, were the real winners of today, and the offense were kind of, I wouldn't say the losers because they were still doing fairly well, but I guess you could say the offense were kind of on the downside of today's offense, or of today's practice, I guess you could say. On the winners, David Bailey bringing the pressure. I think you can say Garrett Wilson, even on the losing side of the offense. I think Garrett Wilson showed some signs of resurgence because last season he didn't really have a great season. Even before his injury, he was kind of struggling a little bit. Some losers, I guess the offensive line, I guess you could say, was somewhat struggling today. Armand Membu did fairly well, but a lot of the offensive line, or some of the offensive line, was struggling a little bit today. I wouldn't worry about it too much though, because I believe this Jets offense is top 10. I don't think it's even a question. The passing offense was a bit of a struggle today. Like I said, Geno Smith had a 50% completion rate during 11 on 11s, 3 for 6, and he had a pretty low pass to A.D. Mitchell, which was incomplete. And then Mykal Walker, out of all people, Mykal Walker intercepted a pass for the Jets defense today. So defense was really the winners of today. Offense was really I guess you could say the loser. I wouldn't really say they're losers of today. They're on the downside because they didn't do bad. Honestly, they did not do bad. It was just mediocre for the Jets offense today. Some quick topics and some quick storylines to watch out for training camp before we wrap up the show here. Rookie watch, D'Angelo Pon's injury, I guess you could say it falls into that topic. Continuing to watch David Bailey's progression throughout this training camp. Rookie quarterback Cade Klubnik could be an interesting watch as well. Some other rookies, let's see, Agnes Cooper could be a pretty good one to watch. Darrell Jackson Jr., great one to watch as well. VJ Payne in that safety battle. You can watch VJ Payne, our 7th round pick, or listen in on that as well. We will be reporting a lot more of training camp and preseason live reactions. We will be doing a ton of preseason shows, and we are going to be doing a ton of preseason play-by-play and live streams for you guys. We will be having a watch party for every single preseason game so far, that is the plan so far, to have a watch party for every single preseason game. So again, my biggest takeaway so far from this training camp: defense looked very very good today. They played very well. Offense played okay. They played decent. I think they just have to, build some pieces, put the puzzle pieces together a little bit more, learn to create some more chemistry, because it's there. I know it's there, but it's just they don't, have to build that until week one. Week one's still over a month away. So I think they have plenty of time to get that chemistry going together before they play Tennessee in Nashville in week one. Tomorrow's practice, I think we will be doing another live stream tomorrow as well. Tomorrow night, we will be recapping day 2 of training camp. So stay tuned for that. Tomorrow's live stream will probably be probably in the afternoon, if I had to guess, somewhere in the afternoon, probably not as late as right now, because we want to talk to you guys, and kind of hard to tune into an 8 p.m. Jets show. I totally get it. So we're going to try to interact with you guys as much as possible. So we're probably going to do an afternoon show tomorrow. So again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for subscribing. You can not subscribing, but yes, do that too. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. You guys can listen to this podcast on Spotify as well. Make sure to go subscribe to that. We are now on Spotify, which is a great thing. You can listen to us. You can listen to me on there. I'm just going to start posting a lot more on Spotify. Jock Talks Jets on Spotify. I'm going to stop saying Spotify now for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. But you also make sure to hit subscribe. We will be coming to you tomorrow afternoon for some more New York Jets training camp news. Follow the Instagram at Jock Talks Jets. Follow the Twitter at Jock Talks Jets. Thank you all so much for coming in. Thank you for anyone that called into the show. Thank you for everybody that